What is happening? Welcome back to another video. I've got a big box of parts turn up for the electric go-kart build. Let's rip into it and have a look what we've got in here. Now this is the back 8000 controller. This thing is a beast, can do like 700 and something phase amps. Not that I'll be pushing this to the limit, but it's a good, reliable, high power ESC. And this is the QS 13890H motor. So this thing is huge. It is freaking heavy. Look at the size of that. What a monster. That's a wiring harness, ready to go. Pumped on that. Super nice dash. Very simple and easy to read apparently, so that's cool. And this is the potentiometer for the throttle. So this feels really nice too. Really good spring pressure on it. It's really firm. Snaps back really strong. That feels like a really nice product. So I'm pumped on that as well. All right, so with this motor, it's a QS motor. It's got here 72 volt, 4000 watts. But I've seen people running these things at like 20 kilowatts. Yeah, they're gonna get hot and stuff like that. You're gonna have to watch temps, but it has been crazy the power that people are putting through these. I'm gonna be running it about 12,000 watts. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be 12,000 watts max. That's what's set into the back 8000. This has already been pre-programmed for 60 volt, 200 amp. I'm not sure on the phase amps it's set to, but once we get it running, the dash hooked up, we'll be able to see what's going on. If I was to do this again, I'd probably go another nuclear controller, like what I put on my bike. After spending a few weeks with that nuclear controller, that thing is sick. You can change anything. It's super simple. It's very easy to use. Problem with this back 8000 is I can't change any settings. You've got to send it back to them to make adjustments, and then they'll send it back to you ready to go. So this is a Surron battery. These come from the factory running 80 amp. I've got this bypass now, but I've got another one of these batteries. They're identical. They're quite new and well-matched batteries. What I'm going to do is run two of them in parallel. So then I've got 100 out of each battery. So that's a 200 amp constant. So what we're going to do is make up some cables. This cable looks pretty small, it is, but this 10 gauge is rated for like 120 amps. And I'm going to have two of them going to the controller. They're higher rating than what the batteries are going to be pumping out, but with two of them, should be all right. Silicon cable, so I can get super hot. It's not going to melt, but if I need to upgrade that in the future, I will. Let's make some cables and see how we go. All right, there we go. That connector's not too bad to work with. First one's always a little bit tricky, really wasn't too bad. The motor fits really well in here. The two batteries down each side, so the power cable can come from the ESC that'll be here somewhere, and they can come out each side into the batteries, running down the sides of the frame here. I was thinking about putting them across the back here, but I think the better option will be to get them down the side here. A little bit more weight over these front wheels. Let's try and connect all this up and see how we go. Just running it on the bench. I'm obviously just going to run one battery. That is obviously the main one there. Plug straight on. So far, throttle in, kill switch. There's our dash. Attached to the dash is the little mode switch. Let's plug that in. Here's the motor. So this is the hall sensor wires and probably temp sensor, and stuff like that. Here are the phase wires. So last thing to do is connect the battery, which is always the most nerve-wracking part. What I'm going to do is get my multimeter out. I'm going to double check that I've got battery polarity correct. Plug in and hopefully nothing goes bang. Let's flick the on button. We've got a red light. There's an on button here. There we go. We've got dash on. What power mode? Kilometers. As soon as you go past a certain RPM, it just triggers it off. That launches to full speed. I let that go. Went for the kill switch that time. But the first time it stopped on its own and the red light was flashing on the ESC. That's worrying. I really don't want to do it again because I'm sure it's not good for whatever's going on. So to my surprise, if you spin these motors up with this controller with no load on the motor, they will just free rev all the way up like that. They reckon once you get it on a cart and hooked up to some wheels and chain and that you don't have any dramas. But on the bench, apparently that's very common. So I don't know, I'm just gonna have to take their word for it. That was from the company that I bought this from. Also, everyone on the DIY electric motorcycle Facebook page, they said the same thing. Let's continue on mounting this motor. All right, so you can see the notch in that mount. Those two bits go on there. We will weld those two little tabs, bolt it through here, and it will be a nice solid mount. The last thing we want is chain dramas. So you can see there the 6 mounting holes around the outside of the motor. There is a little lip there on the motor, so I'm gonna have to get a plate and bore a hole in it. So yeah, let's get onto that now. All right, so Andre did some magic with this plate. Look how good that looks. Fits straight on there. All the bolt holes line up. We've even got one for the back side that I'm gonna cut in half. It's gonna be something a little like that. Let's bolt it up and kind of just see how it looks. This is gonna be such a solid mount. I'm obviously gonna cut this excess off. I've got to cut this one in half so I can unbolt it and still pop that motor out. I welded with a 10mm gap and cut this bit off the top of your bracket. Now we can slide that under. And when you pop that out, motor comes straight out. After I welded up that motor mount, next step was to mount the ESC, just using a little bit of angle. No big deal there, quick and easy. I also welded up some side pieces that the battery's going to mount to. Also, the original bumpers can slot into them as well, which worked out really well. Next step, we're going to move on to the throttle and get that set up. Same thing, just using a little bit of bracket, bolting it to the frame. Quite basic, quite easy, nothing special. Now, this is the last piece of the puzzle. It is just a cheap eBay sprocket that Andre has machined out to fit on the original hub. He's also drilled the holes for me, which is awesome. So I'm going to whack the bolts in that, chuck this on, chuck the wheel back on, and we'll finally be able to get that motor aligned. It's gained a few pounds since I lifted it up there. Fingers crossed this goes smoothly. Damn it, that motor's in reverse. As you can see, the motor was set up in the wrong direction for my application. I was spewing, but after a quick phone call, they jumped on through TeamViewer and were able to sort out my issue.
How quick is that?
First time ever driving it. That is a lot of power to spin up.
That is quick.
It's a tight squeeze in that seat.
Oh, think skinny. And I need more space.
Yeah.
That's insane, man. I sort of heard something whoosh past and then I looked up and it was just taken off.
Do some dollies again. Look at the grin.